Good evening. I'm Nigel QUIGLEY, host of the Ulster Rugby Roundup show, part of the ThreeBOD group, a group of live online global rugby chat shows covering everything from international to grassroots, rugby at mainstream and non-mainstream. On tonight's show, which is brought to you by Hellbent, Kainako Biltong, two of South Africa's finest ranges of artisan food and auto door solutions who repair and service and sell automatic doors. We will be looking at what's going on around the Ulsterverse, looking at Inishowen RFC's latest venture, taking a look at the recent interprovincial games involving Ulster and Ulster A, and a very special guest joins us tonight, a great servant for Ulster Rugby, LUDIK. This is WhiteWalkers Chat and Craic, and you're all welcome to the show. Cune. Anyway, I'm joined tonight, firstly, by my co-host, Mr. David Topping, whom you all know well. How you doing, Dave?
Yeah. Hello, how's it going, Nigel? How are you? How's things?
Not too bad, isn't it? Sure, lockdown's exciting, isn't it?
You know what? Say we find the strangest things to get around lockdown, and finding strange videos of John Cooney and pictures of WhiteWalkers is great fun.
See, WhiteWalkers.
There he is. The Night King returneth.
Oh, there you go. Are you working from home a lot then, mate? Yeah, are you at home or are you at work or what are you at?
We mixture of both, but it's keeping me out of mischief if nothing else. Well, for 5 minutes at least, you know. So it's nice to get in, get a chat some rugby, and have a bit of banter.
That's great. I know we'll have to talk about Ulster this weekend, of course, because we've got to watch those other two at the weekend, don't we?
Who? Any mention of those, and it's a fine now, Night King. Yeah,
I've forgotten.
Oh, I'm sure we'll find them somewhere. Well, let's see. Well, we've got a packed show tonight, folks. And first of all, I want to bring in our fan in five. He's Mr. John Keys. He's the club secretary at Inishowen Rugby Football Club. There he is. Hello, John. Welcome to the show.
Hi, David. Hi, Nigel. How are you?
We're good.
John, we've seen that your club is currently undergoing somewhat of a bit of development at the minute, and you've come up with quite a bit an innovative way of bringing it together. Can you tell us something? Obviously, first about your own background in rugby, and then what are you doing at the club?
Of course, David. Yes. I originally was born and reared in Clonmel in County Tipperary, and I started playing rugby when I was about 8 or 9 years of age. Had a great time. Really was the best game to get involved with. After I moved to London and a bit of rugby in London with Barclays Bank, I met my wife Sheila, who was originally from Donegal, and we moved back to Donegal in around late 2002. And when we moved back, it was a no-brainer. Get involved with the local rugby club, a good social outlet, a good social scene, a good way of meeting people and getting to know people as a new arrival in the area. So,
and of course, beautiful part of the country, in the northwest, sort of my neck of the woods, and I believe that at the minute Inishowen are going through, say, obviously with lockdown and everything that's happening, I believe you've got a wee scheme going on where people can literally buy a brick and build a club up.
That's correct, David. Yes. Well, Inishowen Rugby Club, for those who don't know, we're located in Carndonagh on the Inishowen Peninsula, roughly 20 kilometres from Malin, which is the most northerly point on the island, officially making us the most northerly rugby club, which is that's something that we're very proud of. We currently field our under 8s up to under 18s. We have an under 14 girls team and a senior side, which play in the regional Ulster leagues. So we play at Moss Road in Carndonagh. It's a 10-acre site which we had been renting for many years, up to about 4 or 5 years ago, when we came to an agreement with the local council to purchase that land. So in August 2017, Ulster Rugby brought the entire squad down to officially open the pitches for us. But all along, we've never had any facilities. We've been very fortunate to have the support of Carndonagh Community School for their facilities. So visiting clubs would always change there and sometimes play there because they have a great surface there as well. A year after that, 2018, we were fortunate enough to secure some sports capital funding from the government. And that really set the wheels in motion, our plans in motion for our development. So we have a 10-acre site and nothing on it except 2 pitches. So as part of the clubhouse development, our first phase was to build a suite of dressing rooms. And as everybody knows, and all the clubs in Ulster are going through the same as us, our fundraising abilities were just blown out of the water in the space of a few days. When we had to stop all club activity last March, little did we think that 10 months later we'd still be in the same position. So we were looking at ways of really laying the foundations physically and metaphorically for the club for the future, and trying to give our kids some pride in that club identity, which they have. The local GA clubs and soccer clubs all have great facilities. So that's what we're aiming to do. And so really just to try something different rather than raffles and selling tickets, we thought, buy a brick, help us fund the building of our clubhouse. As you can see, it's our club and it's your community, and we're asking people to leave a legacy. And really, anybody can purchase a brick. Bricks, they're €25, €50, €250 for any companies who are feeling generous out there. And if anybody at all even wants to make a small donation, they can do so through Club Funder, and all the details are actually on our Facebook page, Inishowen Rugby Club.
Well, that's fantastic, John. I think it's one of those. It's nice to see a club, innovating on fundraising rather than, as you say, rather than the raffles and such like. And I have to admit, I'll give a shout out to the man himself, Gerald Williams. And Gerald's been very instrumental in getting this out in the open through his excellent AIL group. And thanks, Gerald, for bringing that up, especially as we know it's Gerald has done a little history of the club for his site, and it's brilliant. And it's great to see everybody clubbing together. And certainly we'll throw it open to anybody wants to support them. We'll make sure to put the details up on the page afterwards, and certainly, John, we're looking forward to seeing how that goes, and certainly keep in touch with us and let us know how things go. Anyway, sir.
Will do, David, and we appreciate the support, and there's lots of goodwill out there, and the messages that we've received from all over the country and from further afield. It's been really, really heartwarming, and it encourages. We're certainly heading in the right direction, and we'll plow on and we'll do our best. And any support we get will be very gratefully received, and we'll put up a lovely plaque in the dressing rooms when they're finished with everybody's details, name and details on it, to thank them for their support.
Absolutely, John. Well, thank you very much for agreeing to come up and share the story with us, and certainly, we'll certainly do our best to to put the word out and get the word around to everybody, and certainly anybody who's watching, if you do want to give them the support, we'll make sure to put up the details on our pages for you, and certainly, John, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, gents. We appreciate it. God bless.
All right, take care. God bless now. And there we go, folks. John Keys from Inishowen RFC, and certainly there's the details there. We'll make sure a copy of this comes up on our pages after we finish tonight. But moving on, Nigel, I think we've got a few things to chat about. There have been a few things happening.
We do. By the way, folks, don't land up to Inishowen with a brick. That's not the way this works, okay? And I have to say, I do have fond memories of Inishowen Rugby Club, and I think I actually remember learning some new drinking games down there a couple of times when we went. Very sociable, great place to go, fantastic, and brilliant idea. I think it'll get a bit of support as well, to be honest.
Indeed, I think my brother Richard.
Sorry, Dave.
He says, he said it's a beautiful club. Played a couple of times down there. He says, only downside, it's a very cool sitter stand on the bench. Certainly wide open up there. It's any breath of wind at all, and you'll have two icicles for legs instead. A couple of wee shout outs for Brandon Smith. Hi, Brandon, how are you? Good to see you. Hope we're all well. Absolutely. And Connor Broomfield. Connor, good to hear from you. He says, hi, guys. He says, best of luck with your fundraising, John. Happy to help promote it at the Four Provinces Rugby Supporters Group. Absolutely, Connor. We'll pass the details to you as well. And our good friend from the Northwest, Johnny Wappa. I think he was referring to a couple of things. Oh, Nigel, can you remember the drive home?
Probably not, no.
And I think he referred to some match at the weekend saying, do we watch it? Is that when we run out of beer? Quite possibly.
The capacity to drink it, one of the two. But anyway.
Hey, our ambassador from Madrid, Spain, Ian Gilbert. Hello, Ian. Good to have you on the show. And Gregor Galway there. It's an absolutely great idea. Do agree with it. And as I said, Gerald's there with all the details. Right. Well, let's see what's been happening here. We've had a right few things happening recently. One of our former Ulstermen, Mr. Kernahan's been busy dancing tries on against Saracens for his club Ealing.
He did, yeah. I must admit, I didn't spend the £9 to watch it because I just couldn't. But it was great to hear. Yeah, it was great to see him score. I mean, Angus. I think a lot of fans were disappointed to see Angus leave, and I always enjoyed watching him play and thought he had a lot of potential. But, I suppose when you look at the depth of talent at the back three, particularly, that Ulster seem to have at the moment, hard choices had to be taken by whoever took them. And Angus has ended up moving on. But he seems to be carrying on where he left off at Ealing. So it's good to see. I personally always felt he's a bit better than a championship player personally, but he's playing his game, he's showcasing his talents, and who better to do it against than Saracens?
Well, absolutely, and considering Ealing now are looking to be favourites to hit near the top of the table anyway in the championship, I don't think it might be too far along before we see them up in the Premiership. Probably along with Saracens, but I don't think they'll be too far away.
They'll be for a couple of seasons anyway, by all news. Which is worrying. First thing, what story was, are they practicing ring fencing? But we'll see. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Also found out that Scotland's first two games in the Six Nations are going to be behind closed doors. Obviously, their first home game, but also the away game to England down at Twitter will be behind closed doors. The latest that we had at the Ireland game is now under review. To be honest, I think
they're going to be behind. They're going to be behind closed doors, David. I mean,
yeah.
I think we all have our feelings on whether or not the tournament should be played, but if it's done safely and done correctly, I suppose it can. I think fans are not going to be part of it. I mean, I just don't see that. It's with. I mean, we had not trying to be too down, but the figures today for the UK were pretty dire. Now things will improve, but they're not going to improve that quick. It's not going to go away. I would say if we're going to have games, let's just be glad we've got games to watch. Be there, but we don't want to be there unless it's safe to go there.
Oh, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you there on that one. And some good news. Our Ulster A coach, Kieran Campbell, has been appointed Irish under-20s coach.
He has,
Um,
which is wonderful news and great reward for his efforts. I mean, he was working with the Irish under-20 camp anyway, wasn't he, and in the youth setup. But it's great to see him get the top job, and I've no doubt when you see what he's done with the Ulster Academy, right man for the job, I think. One question I ask is though, because I think he's doing both jobs, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
So, when he's doing Ireland camps, who's looking after Ulster, who's his number two? Although I did see Rory Best in the Ulster room last weekend, which was another bit of interest. It seems he's getting a bit more involved.
Well, I suppose like anything else, when you're bitten by the bug, it's hard to get away from it totally. And I think whenever Rory is spotted in with the coaching crowd, I think there's either a sharp intake of breath or just a okay, smart move. I think it's an informal arrangement at the minute, but certainly any way that he can sort of pass on and mentor the academy side, I think it's going to be it can only be
very similar to O'Connell in Ireland. What that guy can impart to the players in the Irish camp is probably invaluable. I think the same for Rory at Ulster. The front workers particularly. That knowledge is invaluable and can't be bought. It's you've either got it or you haven't. He certainly has it. So let's hope that develops.
Well, absolutely. In fact, actually, we comment about these closed doors. Johnny Wabba, should the games when behind closed doors have these stupid crowd sounds?
Yeah.
I think it's a case
of football crowds too. I might add, Ben.
Well, I think now I've watched a few games on BT Sport. Now some of the BT Sport ones seem to have got. I think they've got better as the season went on, and I think as they sort of learn sort of the ebb and flow of the game, I think they're starting to blend it in a wee bit better, so it makes it a little more realistic. It's not going to replace it completely, but
I get Johnny's point actually though, because this is a Six Nations, and I wonder it's not going to be as enjoyable without the crowds. I mean, the stadiums are sellouts at Six Nations. The crowd noise is just part of the whole event, and a big part of it is fantastic. The home support and the noise the fans make. You're not going to replicate that through a speaker system. You're just not going to do it. So I can take or leave it, to be honest. But I suppose it's maybe better than just the silence and the players talking to each other. And I'd say the players would probably prefer it because they maybe don't want everything they say being heard on the microphones. But it's not ideal. But the whole situation's not ideal at the minute, is it?
Yeah, well, if anything, like the Kyle Sinclair episode was anything to go by, maybe a little crowd sound may be just very helpful in the right places.
Absolutely. Certain Welsh gentlemen as well.
Looking at just when we were chatting about Ulster A, let's have a wee look. Let's have a wee look at that Ulster A game against Leinster. Very impressive. But I think the one thing that we talked about it before, Nigel, and I think the one thing that we took away from it was that there's a distinct lack of fear.
I think we're seeing that. If I'm honest with you, I think we're seeing that across all the provinces. These young lads are coming through, and they're just. I mean, firstly, is it a lack of fear? It's obviously skill as well. But I mean, some of the performances we're seeing from 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds are phenomenal. And as I say, absolutely, just go for it. They seem to have got into the mode of this is my chance. I have to go for it. I can showcase myself. And I think with the under-20s, we don't get to see them very often. I know some people. I know Chris, who runs the South Wales. I mean, they would follow them in A games over there, so they would have seen them. And Chris Brownfield, I'm talking about, and he would often talk about the A team. I don't think even most Ulster fans realise the upcoming depth there is in that side, and that was a bit of a surprise to a few people how good that side are. Because, that was not a bad Leinster. I can't be honest with you. You don't get bad Leinster sides. That's the depth they have. And I think, in that game, we had a first half that was a bit of an arm wrestle, but Ulster did edge it.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first 20 of the second period, it was Ulster kicked on, Leinster came back in, and you started to think, is this the point where the game could change? Because Leinster really turned to screw up. But Ulster responded in the last 20 again and put the game to bed. And some very strong performances. I mean, some of those lads that, frankly, we've never seen on the television. We've seen video clips of them, but we've not seen them on TV. It's a Hayden Hyde, people like him. But I'm thinking Conor is a Chukwu, or Cormac is a Chukwu. My God, that boy can carry a ball and make distance. He is. Yeah, he was.
Definitely. I think he actually reminded me of the old Tullow Train, and that's and I'll say that in respectful terms, we took the ball, ran with it, and to be honest, it seem that Leinster had very much of an answer for it at the start.
He's just one of those. He's great with his feet. Seems to be very physical. He can knock people over, and he showed that. And another thing I loved about him and the whole Ulster pack, frankly, is they were always looking to keep the ball alive. So they looked to use the contact, offload, keep the move alive, and they gain huge meters. But it's a game I love to watch. When any team does it, I wish the one in green would do it a bit more. But I love the style of rugby Ulster try to play. When it's inaccurate, it's very frustrating. But when it comes together, it's a thing of joy to watch. It's lovely. But Dave McCann, who just seems to be developing. I thought Marcus Ray was our back row. Actually, speaking to some Leinster fans, they thought their back row, the one that they picked, would dominate ours, and it turned out to be the other way around, I think. But I think it surprised not just maybe them; it surprised a few of us too, just how good. And I think that's the thing about Ulster. We always know about back three players; they churn them out. We can churn out the odd centre and some good nines and whatever, But forwards, we've always been a bit light. Mm-hmm. We've seen, Callum Reid came off the bench the second half and scored a 30-metre try, which probably got to 50 metres by the time he got home and cracked his first beer open. Well, props do that.
Absolutely. That has to be done.
But it was a superb try. We have obviously Ross Kane on the other side. John Andrews didn't even feature, but I think he's been a superb player for us this season, and he's firmly in the A squad now. I think, or firmly in the senior squad. Yeah. But we're producing forwards now, and we're producing forwards in all three types of position. Mm-hmm. And as in front row, back row, and second row. We haven't done that for years, and that's good to see. While still producing the back threes, the wingers, and the full backs. Mm-hmm. We are producing centres. I mean, we've got two fantastic lads there who are playing fairly regularly in the senior team. We saw two guys who we haven't seen a lot of. Hayden Hyde stuck out to me. The other guy was good too, but we just didn't know how good these guys were. And
I think
a nice one for Ulster fans to see how good these lads were.
From my perspective, I'm sort of looking more now. We have a certain amount of depth in all areas of the park. Do you think we're going to go the same way as the other provinces now? I'd say we're going to be sending folks off to the other provinces for games.
Leinster have had to do it because they were producing numbers, but they were producing numbers in quality. Mm-hmm. These I think that's partly why some people were disappointed that young Kernahan left the shores, because I think he's better than Ealing Trail Finders, if I'm honest with you. I think he is, but that's to continue. Obviously, it'll be down to the player as well. But yeah, I was looking. Somebody listed. It was actually it might have been Connor that listed at Broomfield on the Four Provinces page. Very good page, by the way, and. I think it was him listed all the back three players that Ulster have now from senior side down to academy. And when you look and you see it, you think it's only going to be a matter of time before some of these lads are asked to shift, because they're not going to get game time at Ulster with everybody there. And if somebody else is maybe a bit light in that area, And let's be honest, we've all benefited from Leinster having too much depth to use in their own team, and you've got to give back, haven't you? So if you've got that, then you've got to help the other provinces too. The key thing will be keeping these players in Ireland so that they develop within the Irish province and the Irish province system and are eligible to play for the under-20s and the senior Irish side if deemed good enough.
Well, feeding into that, we had we've seen an article today about the influence of Nusafora, and
did you say Nucifor or Lucifer there? Sorry, Dave. You didn't make that clear.
Who knows? But what it was a very interesting read, but it actually sort of got me thinking. Well, considering where his focus is, obviously that's at the expense of the grassroots to a certain degree, and at the club level. How do you think that could feed into obviously the situation where we're at now at the minute? With
I think they've got to be very you can't isolate grassroots rugby, because look, if you do that, you're just cutting your options down and you're destroying the game at what I think is the most important level, because that's the level where most people who play rugby start from. If it's not school, it's grassroots, it's club rugby. So I know his focus, I imagine, is simply the national side. But, you look at what Ulster have done through their summer schools, etc., in the last few seasons. They're really trying to push the boat out to all types of schools, to grassroots rugby. And we're starting to see that return. Ross King, for example, didn't come from grammar school and straight into Ulster juniors, whatever. He came from a club. Young, what's his name? Bradley. What do I call him? The ginger-haired fella. I keep getting his name.
As I said, your man from Rennie.
Your man from Rennie. We wouldn't see guys like him coming in if we went too far down that route. He's been a find. I mean, I think that lad's going to feature in rugby in Ulster generally a bit more, because he hasn't done much wrong since he's come on the pitch, either for the senior team or the A's. And he looks a very strong unit and looks very capable. So, that's come from club rugby. That's come from grassroots rugby. Yeah. How we get around it, I think the RFU need to put a little bit more attention to grassroots rugby. Bradley Roberts, thank you, Peter. I had Bradley and I had Rob. I couldn't even remember which one was his first name. From it's just one of those names I keep getting wrong, But he seems to have a lot of character about him. Seems to really enjoy his rugby, but he's good enough. That's why he's there. I mean, he was brought in and trained to back up for a game. He appeared again. He's out for the A's, and I'm sort of thinking, this guy's nosing his way in here. That's great to see. We must see this. I'm just seeing a comment from Gerald here from a club's view. It's good to see players in Ulster coming through. The likes of Lurgan, Rainey, Ballinhinch. These clubs are bringing players up from many levels to AIL. That's correct, Gerald. And if Gerald tells you something about AIL, it's true. I have to tell you, because I don't know anybody that knows more about AIL rugby than this man. But we can't. I've often said, I'm going to tell a slightly different story, but it's the same thing. If you look at the way the 4 provinces play rugby, and they all play fairly similarly, it's very expansive. Yeah, we do a bit of box kicking, yeah, we do a bit of carrying, but they play very wide, expansive rugby. They change their plays. Ireland don't. I've always felt there's a bit of a disconnect there. And what we don't want is a bigger disconnect then between the provincial level and the academies down to grassroots. Too many disconnects will not be seamless then. We need a seamless kind of thing where people can move up with relative comfort, but can make the step up. It's not a huge step, or they feel they're in an alien place where they don't belong. So I'm not the man to sort that out. I'm not sure what the method would be of doing that, but I think it has to be done.
Well, looking at it from looking at sort of taking that step up to the Irish team. Obviously we've got the Six Nations coming up. Okay, we may as well ask the question: how many Ulstermen do you think are going to hit the squad?
Oh, I don't know, and I'm not.
Normally you're not. But
I look, the team that gets picked that pulls the green shirt on, I support them. I'm not the one sitting going. I mean, I would have my opinions, and I think that Well, obviously, we're not going to have. Looks Ian's not going to be available. I think Rob Herring will be involved. I think Jacob Stockdale will be involved. I'm starting to struggle a bit now. I don't think we'll have many. I think possibly Tom O'Toole will be involved in 1 or 2 games. Eric O'Sullivan possibly. I think John Andrews ready to make the step up, but probably won't get a look in this time round if he does. Stu McCluskey, I really wish they would pick him because we know how good the guy is, but I've just come to the conclusion he won't because whatever reason, I don't get it, but or whatever. No, we won't have a big contingent in the Irish setup this time round, I don't think. But I'm not bothered by that. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm disappointed for the lads when they don't get picked, but it's not my ambition to play for Ireland. It's my ambition to play for Ulster. If they get picked for Ireland, good on them. And well done. It wouldn't be the first time we supported an Irish team with no Ulster players in it. It's not a reason not to support them. So I know some people get really hung up about, you'll talk to maybe some Leinster fans. I know some Leinster fans, and they'll pick 1 to 23 in blue, so that's fine. And if the Irish team pick that, that's fine. I'll shout them on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I know that we had a question there about this new Rainbow Cup, but I'm going to leave that for a minute because I think it's time to introduce our special guest for the evening, Nigel.
Oh, has he arrived? Is he in?
He has arrived.
Well, good to see him.
And here he is.
Hey guys, how you doing? Nigel, hey, how you doing?
Fit and well, you're looking young, man.
I don't feel that young anymore. Getting older now, unfortunately.
Well, it depends on the company you keep, I suppose.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, no, absolutely.
The
the squad is very young, so that must make me feel very young. So I think I'll go for that.
It actually is, though. I mean, it must be. I was saying, we're talking to Dave earlier on about this, that we don't get to see the A team very often. And we saw them at the weekend, and I think it surprised quite a few people just how good that side are at the minute.
Yeah, no, there's some young talent coming through. It's absolutely amazing, and it hats off to Naz that they've done such a good job the last couple of years with the academy. But I spoke to him the other day, and he said like it took 3-4 years for this talent to come through, and it's a long time coming. But the guys that's coming through is unbelievable. Some incredible athletes. So it's awesome to see for Ulster. It's really good.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Well, Lou, first of all, thank you very much for coming on and having a chat with us for a wee while. How have things been? How have you adapted through the lockdown?
No, thank you very much for having me. Always appreciate it. Yeah, obviously lockdown is always tough, especially that first couple of months whenever we weren't allowed to train with the team, and it was quite tough to just try and stay fit on your own and go for runs, and it was quite tough. But we are probably one of the fortunate ones at the moment that's able to train and that's able to compete and work in that sense. So I must say we were very fortunate. But obviously, I think we had also been quite fortunate the fact that there hasn't been a lot of infections. So I think there was 1 or 2 cases, but like there's so many regulations in and around the facility that Bryn and Dan and the whole crew has implemented to make sure that there's a lot of social. Even though I must confess, it probably sounds strange that there's social distancing, but then we train and then we high five and stuff like that. So that must be a little bit odd, but like there is a lot of stuff that's in place to ensure that whenever we have meetings, we're far away from each other and it's only a certain amount of time. So I must say we're probably the only team in Europe that hasn't had a postponement because we've had so many infections. So I have to say there's gone a lot of work into that to ensure that.
Fantastic. Did I read you have got I'm going to switch to Hellbent briefly here.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Did you get a supply agreement with Sainsbury's?
Yeah, so we got if we're pretty lucky in a sense because of Brexit, and a lot of Sainsbury's produce comes from the mainland. They knew there was going to be a hiccup, and they form a bit of a partnership with Henderson's. And because we supply Henderson's, we were one of the few local suppliers that qualified to be able to go into Sainsbury's. So we're very fortunate in that sense. But yeah, I must say it's going pretty well, and we are delighted to be in there. It's like if you're in the likes of Tesco's and Sainsbury's, it's a tough gig, but we enjoying it.
And look at him. He's looking so young there.
That was a couple of years ago. That was a couple of years ago, definitely.
Photoshop.
That's probably 7 years ago. So
right.
I'll take that.
Whenever I sort of look back at whenever you first joined us from Inishowen back in 2014, what would have been your initial impressions of coming into Belfast? Because I know you had some contact with one of our other iconic heroes in the squad, Mr. PNR. What was your initial impressions of coming in?
Expectations was obviously very, very high. Whenever I spoke to Ryan, he always held also in such high regard, and I was very fortunate initially when I got just a bit of rumor and that speculation that Ulster was interested. I thought it wasn't going to happen because I still had a couple of years left on my contract in Agen, but I had a clause that stated if we didn't go up to the Pro 14, I can get out. And so there was a lot of pieces of the puzzle that needed to fit before it was complete. And we played in the final, and we lost in the final at Agen. And I got the contract the next week, and I was absolutely delighted. Obviously, there wasn't a choice for me. Rugby-wise, I knew Ulster was one of the best teams in Europe and wanted to be the best team. And that's why I joined. I wanted to play competitive rugby and play in European Cup. And obviously with Ryan here, it made it much even more easier. So initially, like obviously when I got here, the talents, especially you guys spoke about the back three and the back line always we've had with Tommy and Gilly and Trimby. And the first year I got here, we signed Charles, and the first impression I had was how the hell I was going to make the team because there was so much talent. But I really just enjoyed it from the beginning. You guys spoke about Bradley earlier as well, and you could see that first game when he played against Edinburgh, and you can see the team spirit that the guys have. And for us as foreigners, that's you don't know how you're going to be accepted. And whenever I think he made a turnover, a penalty in their last couple of minutes, and they just grabbed him and picked him up, and you could see like they just embrace whenever they feel the team fully put everything into it, and it's absolutely heart and soul. The guys accept them, and that's very special whenever you walk into a team and you feel that it is very, very special, and you can't really ask for more.
Well, you talk about that game in Edinburgh. I remember it was towards the end of it. Bradley came on, and he came close to scoring twice.
Yeah.
And you can see the effort the pack were trying to make to get him over the line with
exactly.
And it was just fantastic to see him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly. Yeah, and that's how the team is. Like, it's really a great bunch of players, and since I've been here, it's been really amazing. And I've obviously can't believe it's already over 6 years and going to my 7th season. It's incredible, and I've really enjoyed it.
Right.
Well, what's it like working for Dan? Because you've been through quite a few changes in management, and what's it like working with Dan McFarland?
Yeah, like I think it's very good that we've signed him for another 2 years. There's a little bit of consistency, and since I've been here, we've gone through our share of coaches, and it's always very difficult because obviously as head coaches, you've got a fixed idea how you want players to play and the players you want, and with new coaches coming in, it's very difficult. And like obviously with Dan, he's is really good at knowing exactly what he wants, and it makes the picture very clear so that everyone knows exactly what their role is. And the fact that working hard is a non-negotiable, and for everyone that's so important on the training pitch, on the playing field. As long as you give it your absolute that's all he's asking for. So that is non-negotiable. And obviously, as any head coach and any coach these days, that all are very good. But it's finer details that makes the difference, and you can see that with the team. Like, he's not scared to give the young guys a chance, and that's what you have to do as well. You have to take those chances, and like, it's really paying off. The guys that's coming in, they're putting their hands up, and it's really good for Ulster. So hats off to the coaching team.
Well, like I'm just looking at some of the comments that are coming up here. I'm going to start with Peter Lockhart. Peter, great to have you on the show. Peter, delighted to see Louis on. Nicest rugby player I've met, and one of the nicest people. Excellent player too. Very, very solid.
Thanks, Peter.
He described you. I don't know. He described you like a Volvo there. I think he's better than that. Come on.
Volvo is one of the safest cars on the road. So I'll take that.
As I said, they're boxy, but they're good.
Well, I'll put it this way: any man who takes a Falcon and scores a try from it, you have to be solid.
Exactly.
That was an absolute cracker. You couldn't have got any flusher on the face if you tried, Louis. Just to recover in half a second and grab the ball and dot it down.
Absolutely.
I think we were just giggling with glee whenever we seen that one. Never mind the Falcon. It was the fact it was an excellent try. And I see a few other questions coming through as well.
Conor Broomfield is bound to have questions. He's bound to.
What does Louis think are the main reasons behind Ulster producing so many quality young players in the last few years?
Yeah, I think that's definitely up with the academy. They've invested. Ulster have invested so much into the academy. So I think that's a massive thing. I think the culture as well. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind scenes that they want more players to be involved in in rugby. So the more players that play rugby, like you said, Nige, from a young age, from grassroots, they enjoy it, and there's more paths through to the Ulster team, and it makes a big difference. The more people play, the more talent will come through, and that's the way it is. And Ulster, I must say, Ulster is probably one of the only teams definitely the only team that I've ever played for, that you go out and go to schools and you coach and you do so many PR stuff that I've never done so many in my entire life. So Ulster really goes out of their way to get out there, to let people, even if that's one or two or three players that might have never played rugby, and you never know, they might be the next Tommy Bowe or Brian O'Driscoll or whatever. So you just never know. So they try and catch a lot of people that might gone through the nets. They would catch them, and there's a lot of stuff like that goes on behind the scenes that at the end of the day you just don't know what impact that would have made.
Absolutely. I remember running into Willie Anderson about 4 years ago, talking to him. I met Willie a few times, and even back then he was saying the quality is there, but they're not growing off trees, and we're having to dig hard to find them. It seems the work that's done since then.
Yeah.
I mean, especially because I think Ulster were always known for back three, weren't they? They always produced good wings and fullbacks and back players, if you like. But we're starting to see some forwards coming through now, which is and quite a few, I have to say, more than I thought we had coming through, and that's good to see.
It's very good, yeah. And the big thing that Dan incorporated in the team is competitiveness. I think there's a lot of guys that are really competing for positions, and he's giving everyone chances. A couple of years ago, we might have been guilty not to give a lot of guys a lot of opportunity. And like, for example, with Ruan being here, when he was here, he almost played, I think, if he wasn't away at the box, at the Springboks, he probably played 99% of the games. Whilst now at the moment, they'll give a lot of young guys opportunity. And like Doki that got his debut, like he's still so young, but he got that opportunity, and you could see he was maybe a little bit nervous, but you know, your first cap is always nervous when you get on, but like he'll embrace that and he'll take that on. So it's so important to give those young guys that opportunity and give them that confidence.
What was it? Just a comment that was made by it was Ian Humphreys made it on Friday night, and I thought it was interesting. And he said, "What's great about this young squad is," and you could answer this, put on this, but he said that by the way they're playing, they've beat Leinster twice this season. They've beat Munster. They drew with Connacht, I think, didn't they? They drew with Connacht. Well, I think they beat them last year. He says they're getting used to winning these games.
Yeah.
He says, whereas perhaps take the example of Leinster. The senior team go to Dublin, and the natural assumption is, oh, this is going to be a big ask, and we may or may not. I've always felt Ulster at their best could beat anybody, to be honest, for quite a few years. Certainly the last 5 or 6 anyway, at their best could beat anybody. But I get what he was saying. It's a mindset thing, that they don't automatically think we're going here, oh, this is a big, they're going there to win. That's it. It's a lack of fear in those kids as well, which is, I find, very impressive. They just give it their all. And go for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's a lot of guys that, like, for example, I felt the guys, whenever we played Leinster away, the RDS a couple of weeks ago, I think we played so well, and we've grown so much the last couple of years, and we are so close. But whenever you compare us, like, they've got so many internationals, so much experience, and so much X factor. And I think those type of players, they're coming through Ulster at the moment. If you look at Sexton, if you look at all these guys coming through, they've got so much X factor, and that's a lot of times maybe that we've been lacking. It is so difficult to put your finger on it, but like, there's a lot of guys like that coming through that's going to make such a big difference in a couple of years' time. It is very exciting.
Well, look, I'm going to take a wee question here from Davy Wilson. Louis, well, what's your favourite position, as you're seen as a utility back, and a very good one at that, I might add. But you know, which position on the pitch would you prefer?
I've always preferred fullback, but like I enjoy these days. I enjoy just being on the field. A lot of times I really enjoy wing as well, because it gives you a bit of freedom. You don't really have to stand just on the side, but fullback, you've got a bit more of a role, and you know more or less where you have to be. But on wing, you can just float around if you want to be around, play inside, outside 9, inside, outside 10, and then you can run inside lines. You can just be wherever you want. And if you're caught in a ruck and someone kicks the ball at the back, they're not asking where the wing is. They always ask, where's the fullback? So it's you've got a bit of an excuse, but yeah, no, it's I just enjoy it. And like with in center, I enjoy contact, so I love defense as well. So whenever I'm on 13, my shoulders and neck are a little bit more painful the next morning, because I've made probably 10 more tackles, but I enjoy that as well. But I must say, throughout my career, I've enjoyed fullback a little bit more.
And bringing, I'm just going to sort of switch, like, you know, obviously with the South African influence that we have at Ulster, obviously now that we've got 4 South African teams joining us for next season for the Rainbow Cup, as soon as we're done with this season of Pro 14, you know, how do you think the provinces are going to cope with the 4 new teams coming through? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be so good for Irish rugby, especially like for Ulster, for Leinster, for all Irish provinces. Like, Leinster's been unbeaten for the last couple of seasons, apart now obviously from Connacht the other week. But before that, like, I think for Pro 14 it's going to be amazing. There's South African teams are obviously very different, and you've seen that whenever the we played at Bloemfontein, and it's very different. It's dry, it's warm, and they play a very expansive game. So, like, I think the evolvement and development on a different level is going to be vital for Irish teams, and it's going to push them mentally more than physically. It's very different when you're used to cold, and like you go there and it's very hot, even though I really enjoyed playing there because it feels like home and I'm so used to it. But for a lot of guys, they do struggle with the heat, but it's gonna help them, their mental capacity massively, and it's gonna be I think it's just gonna be very, very positive for the whole tournament and for Irish rugby.
Well, I think obviously now that we know that Marcel is heading off to the sunnier climes with the Bulls. I know Johnny Watt says he's feeling for the Cheetahs and the Kings, and obviously that has had an effect on where things are at the moment. But how when we look at sort of the last few years, and you've seen a few of your compatriots coming through our Ulster side, what can you say has been the most positive influence that the players from South Africa have brought to Ulster?
I think it's maybe just a little bit different feeling for the game, different mentality maybe. That's the great thing about rugby is it's played all over the world, but it's very similar. But the big thing maybe is anyone that comes from overseas, if it's from Australia or New Zealand, it's a different mentality and maybe just different ideas, fresh ideas. It's always good whenever new guys come in to have that new mindset and just fresh ideas. I think that would be the big thing. Obviously, with someone like Marcel, he is absolutely world class. So, like you get carriers like that. There's not many like them. So obviously, some of the guys, if you look at Ruan, if you look at Mars, like they're just unbelievable world class players. So you get that as well. That it's just a different animal, and like we South Africans, we absolutely love contact. So I think, I don't know if that made a bit of a difference just for the guys, local guys, to join contact a bit more. But I think it's for me personally, I think it's just a bit of a different and new, fresh ideas that new guys bring in would make a big difference.
And certainly from doing my research on this, I know you've had some pretty horrific injuries over the time, and I know in an interview with Peter Lockhart, actually, when I was looking at where things were at, you had a really rough time coming back from that ACL injury. How does your mindset change? Whenever you have so many setbacks, and you finally managed to get back into the squad, and of course hitting your 100 caps. How do you see the sort of progress from the time of the injury right through to where you got the century?
Yeah, with the injury like that, it changes absolutely everything. It changes your whole, because that was the biggest injury obviously I've ever had. And before then, you're young, you're 19 years old, 20 years old, you break onto the scene, you feel untouchable, you feel invincible, you have no fear. You just play for the love of the game. You don't have any responsibility. You just go out there and absolutely love every second while you're out there. And once that happens, it's almost like reality sinks in and it changes everything. Like I've always worked hard, but after that injury, I've had to work double as hard because I had a few complications with that injury, and like it does change a lot, but it makes you stronger. It's very much a cliche, but obviously, like a lot of setbacks, it does make you stronger, and I just appreciated it so much whenever I got back onto the field. And after that, every time I go onto the field, and like it's whenever I jog out and I see the crowd, I really to try and take it in. to really appreciate it, because like just in a snap of a moment, it can all just be gone. And that's every time I just go onto the field, I just want to appreciate it as much as I can. And like obviously I've gone through my share of injuries here at Ulster as well, but it's just as bad if it's small niggles or like a 6 weeks year or a 2 months or 4 months year. It's all very frustrating. But like with rugby, it's a high risk game, and the guys are just getting quicker and faster and more powerful and stronger and bigger. So it's probably going to happen more often. But like I must say, running out for my 100th cap, that was probably one of my favorite moments. It goes with whenever we won the Currie Cup with the Sharks and played in the final of Super Rugby. Playing my 100th game for Ulster was really, really special, and the team made it very special as well. I didn't expect it, but before the game, normally the speeches are always after the game and just say well done and thank you, and the you get a cap. And before, I didn't expect it at all, but Mars stood up and made a speech, and it was very emotional. And I didn't expect. I thought maybe something's going to happen afterwards, but it was before the game. It was really, really special, and running out, leading the team, it was really, really special, and I would always cherish it.
Fantastic. And you're not done yet, so
I hope not.
No,
Funny, you're talking
absolutely.
about players leaving, South Africans, etc., and there's no doubt the influence that South African players have had on the team. I think all the things you say are correct. And there's a lot of depression in Irish fandom about Marcel leaving, because the guy is class, and there's no doubt about it. But one of the things I'm gutted he's going too, because you just know what he gives.
Yeah.
And that's it. What I'm interested in now, and I think we're seeing it a little, is who's going to step up to the plate, because we don't know if they're going to bring a player in, swap a player around, if what may be. What have we got now, and what can we do with that?
Yeah.
I thought Nick Timoney really has come to light lately. Whether that's because he knows Marcel's going or not, I don't know, but he's been superb. And as I said, young Cormac Inishowen looks like a serious ball carrier going forward, and quite a big lad as well. Although I've never seen him in the flesh, but he looks a big lad. So maybe looking at a different type of number 8 going forward, but not necessarily less effective. I think is the point I'm trying to make. So you don't get many Marcel Coetzee out there. There's not many people like that guy. There just isn't. So we've got to do something else, but make it as effective. And I think it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, obviously Mars, he's a world-class player. Like, you can't take anything away from him. It just feels like every time he touches the ball, he gets over the advantage line, and the teams know that he's coming. Like, they target him. If you look at that Leinster game, 2 guys try and double hit him, but he spins out, and he either makes the advantage line or he gets over it. It's incredible. It's just the pure size and the will. You can see whenever he starts banging his head like that, he just wants to go forward. It's incredible, and like, you don't get many of them. But like you said, Nick has gone. He's a really incredible player as well, and he's getting there. He's still young. He's still bulking up as well. He's a big player. There's a lot of guys that's coming through. I think the young guys that's coming through is definitely going to step up. But like, you can't take away. There's a reason why Mars he's played over 30 times for South Africa. It just doesn't happen by chance. Hopefully there's someone that locally that will step up and fill his shoes, but like, it will be tough because there's not many of him, unfortunately.
All right. I'm just laughing at a comment there that Ian Gilbert made, my good lady wife, because things still have to go on. The Quigley Laundry Folding Podcast.
You should go and help. She can bring some laundry for you, and then you can fold them while you're talking.
Hand me some, I can fold them while I'm talking.
Brilliant.
Louis, I'm going to ask you about Hellbent. We've got a good publicity around it, and I know you created quite a while ago now with Skulk and obviously your wife Shami, and I've always been interested in how that developed. Like I know. I suppose when you're sort of waiting for something to happen, and all of a sudden you have all these things happen at once, and how did you come around the idea of Hellbent?
Skulk actually, he made. Obviously, we're South Africans. We love to barbecue, and whenever Skulk's son's second birthday party, we had a massive barbecue at his house in Ballymena, and all the South Africans were there, and a couple of the foreign guys. And he actually went to the local butcher and made some boerewors, and he said, "Listen, taste this," and I tasted it, the boerewors, and it was honestly the best boerewors I've ever tasted. Obviously, I haven't had it in quite a while, so it could have been that, but it was honestly really good. And Shamay made a joke. She said, like everything's finished. All the guys loved it. Even some of the other foreigners loved it as well. She made a joke and said, "Why don't we try and sell it?" And then after a couple of weeks, there was a few of especially Rodney IU, he actually ordered about 10 kgs a week for his family, because the boys, that is one of Skulk's favorite things to do. We do quite a few markets, and whenever Skulk's at a market, that's the best thing he'll say. Just give it to your kids. The kids, they love it. They absolutely love it. And Rodney's children just absolutely loved it, and he ordered a couple, and then that's actually how it started. And we, being not from here, the biggest thing that we had to do is build connections, build a bit of a network, and that's where Invest and I came in, and Ulster helped as well, Rugby Players Ireland. I went to see Pamela, and from there we just started meeting people and see how we can do this, and that's where Queen's University and Ulster University came in to give us a bit of help, and like it's just building connections, and it built from there. So that's basically how it started, and today we're very fortunate where it is. Sorry, you're on mute, Nige.
I muted myself actually because it was a kettle. Life goes on. Did I hear you say that you're in Tesco's as well?
Yes, we're in Tesco's, but actually for a different product. Shamay, it's so cute, too cute. You're not helping with the laundry, and then you get a kiss with is it a cuppa?
That'll cost me, believe me.
So Shamay actually developed two sauces for a pork belly. That's in Tesco. So it's a complete new product. It actually comes from, we normally in South Africa, whenever we barbecue, we have a bit of a snack, and we call it an oopsie. Right. So it was probably made by, I don't know where it comes from, but an oopsie is it's a mistake. So it's like a pig in a blanket, basically. It is, but the difference is it's a cherry. Like a cherry that comes on a cake that you wrap bacon around it, and you put it on a barbecue. So it's very sweet. That's sweet and salty. It's a really good combination, especially with the bacon. And then, but she developed a sauce that comes from that. So it's the pork belly with a cherry and balsamic sauce. It is. It's So that's where it comes from. So it's a little bit. Our whole thing about Hellbent is delicious. Great things happen when cultures collide. So it's the Irish pork with the South African cherry thing. So it's a bit like that. So that's where the boerewors comes from as well. So so that's the products that's in Tesco's.
Well, I've got one final question here, and it's actually from our good friend Peter Lockhart. Peter asks, what does Louis think Michael Larry's best position is? Obviously, incredibly talented player, absolutely. But is he big enough to play 10 or fullback, or could he end up on the wing and challenge Sexton?
It is. We always make a joke in the team is Mikey is his own wrongdoing, because he plays everywhere he goes, he does well. So he's too good for his own good. So he's such a talented player. Like it's difficult because whenever a player is that good in all positions, it's tough for a coach to really place him. And whenever you're not specialized, it's like Ruan as well with the box. He played 9 and then he played 10 and he played fullback. And he's so good. He's so talented. It's difficult for every coach has a different opinion. So it's difficult to really establish yourself. With Mikey, he can play anywhere. I don't know. Like he's a great counter attacker. He's got unbelievable quick feet, but then he kicks really well. He controls the game really well on 10. So it is really difficult. Sometimes with guys like him, like it's really difficult not to become a utility player. But like it's a positive as well. But it's like it's very difficult. I think in Ulster maybe with Billy and Bill and Mads, you'll probably play more 15 and so many great players on 10. It's very difficult. I probably see more a future in fullback for him. But like it's so easy to pick him because like he can slot in on 15 and 10, and then he can probably play 9 as well. He'd be an incredible 9. You never know. So, but yeah, it is a very difficult one. But for Ulster, I think he's really good. He would play 15 more than anything else.
Yeah, so evening.
He defends unbelievably for somebody his size, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's got some heart. Like he's just got heart, and he goes in with everything. So, yeah, no, he's electric. It's always whenever he jumps around, you just get excited. You just don't know what's going to happen. So it is. He's an unbelievable player, and obviously he can play. He's really good under the high ball. Like he can play wing, he can finish maybe like Colby. He can be a great finisher. So yeah, you can just play him anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way, we're sort of run near the end of the time here, but Louis, I believe that we're going to be doing a couple of live shows for Hellbent coming up very soon. In fact, the first one actually is coming up this Saturday, the 23rd. It's at 8 p.m. On Hellbent's Facebook page. I think our good buddy Joe is helping out with that one. And certainly I would encourage anybody, if they want to know more about all things South African and the culture of braai, definitely do call by the Hellbent site on Saturday. And have a wee chat with Louis and see where they can take us next. Plenty of culture. This is one. I'm going to go up and find some oopsies now.
I want to ask you guys: have you tasted it yet, Dave? Nigel, have you tasted it or not yet?
No, I haven't yet.
Some of the products.
No,
I would have thought for the preparations for the show, you might have bought some at Sainsbury's or somewhere.
Next time, I'll tell you next time. I'm definitely having that work anyway. That's definitely
I'm still trying to pay myself some brew. Some reason because I live up here in the northwest, one of the Ulster super fans who managed to get it down to Eglinton, my good friend Laura Gallagher, she managed to get it sent down there. But anytime I went to go, I couldn't find a thing. I don't know where they went to, But it's I'm looking forward now. Certainly, I'll be going to find some whoopsies now and have a go at this. For I've always been interested in that sort of food. I've tried biltong, and I want to try out a few more of that side. So I'm certainly looking forward to getting my hands on some. But look, well, thank you very much, Louis, for coming on and giving us giving up your time, because I know you're busy. You're spinning many plates as it is anyway, and obviously with the little break that we've had, an enforced break that we've had, because of this, because of COVID, it's just give us a chance to get a good chat with you and see where Hellbent's going to take us next. What about the future? Now we know coming to the end of the season, we'll put out our own begging letters to Dan and Mr. Petrie. Say, any chance you can hold on to Louis for another year? We need him here. What do you think? What would your plans be?
Yeah, obviously it's very difficult at the moment. Like we spoke about injuries earlier, and like I'm still struggling with a bit of concussion, and like it's so frustrating because like it's one of those things, you take 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, and um like it started off whenever I started cycling, I got headaches and migraines, and then I after a couple of days I started running and I felt good, and then I did a bit of decision making and a bit of fitness, and I got migraines again, and then it's a step back, and then everything went really well for a week or two, and then I did contact and I got a migraine again. So it is very frustrating, and I'm getting older, so like, and it's difficult times with COVID as well. So it is very difficult, and you just don't know what the future's going to hold. And hopefully I'll be able to play a couple of games before the end of the season, but I haven't heard anything about next year yet. We'll see. And like there's a lot of young guys coming through, so you never know. But yeah, like I'm really enjoying my time, but I'm planning to stay. If I stay another year playing, I'll be here. But if I have to stop the end of the season, and obviously I'm still gonna stay in Belfast, and with the business, and my son's in school here, and my wife's very happy, so we are gonna stay behind. So you're gonna see me anyway if I play or don't play. So.
No, I hope so, Louis. And look, at the end of the day, the important thing is you recover properly, because there's been so much around about concussion lately and the effects it has on people. So get you fixed first, and then we'll see. Sure, I have no doubt. You've been
thank you very much. Thank you very much. No, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's good to do these things sometimes, and just it's very informal, so that's great.
Yeah. It's the only way we work. There's no professionalism here.
That's brilliant. Yeah, next time
get chatting to people like yourself, and get a totally different perspective on the club itself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, brilliant. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Well, listen, thanks very much. We're going to wrap it up now, because Joe will be popping more coins into the meter and panicking about it.
Absolutely.
You've been watching WhiteWalker Chat and Craic, brought to you tonight by Hellbent, Kainako Biltong, and Auto Door Solutions. That's me, by the way. I fix automatic doors and sell them, okay? And we've been talking tonight about Ulster A. We've been talking about Angus Kernahan. We've had a very great appearance by LUDIK tonight. We've enjoyed. We've spoken about Inishowen's Buy a Brick campaign, which if you can support, please do. It's a great club. As I've forgotten many a night at Inishowen Rugby Club, I can say that with hand on heart. I don't remember them. They were great nights. That's all I remember. The next show that is coming up, although I noticed Dave, you didn't put the date on it.
Well, that would be tomorrow night, because that would be the ThreeBOD.
It'll be tomorrow night then. It's the Dry Bucket, a Ball and BlitzBOD with Andy Daniel and Gareth Mason, and with all their things on SA Rugby and all takes. That's at 7 p.m. UK and 9 p.m. SA time, so you can hopefully join in with that. Louis, again, thanks very much, mate. Hopefully we'll get a chat with you again sometime. And before I talk to you again, I will eat some of your food. I'm definitely having that pork. That's happening.
Absolutely.
And Dave, as always, mate, it's a pleasure.
Come on. It's been fun as always, Nige. Fun as always.
Oh, we enjoy it, mate. Sure, we always do. And people, hope you've enjoyed the show. Please watch the other shows. Some of them are fantastic. They're all fantastic. But there's going to be something in there that's of interest to you, whether it's provincial, international, grassroots. And if you can, and you're not too drunk after the Munster game, tune into the Hellbent podcast on Saturday. Folks, been fantastic. Loved it. And we hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. This has been WhiteWalkers Chat and Craic, part of the ThreeBOD Rugby Group. Thank you very much.
Good night.